It's Susan at Seaside Stitches, and I'm on to talk to you about the Davenport dress. And this is the Friday Pattern Company Davenport dress. And I first saw this, I think, with Andrea Beyond the Pink Door, and I've seen it on numerous people since, most recently on Rachel at the French Seams and Michelle at Sewing Bunny. And those two people were the ones. Oh, also I spotted it on Alison. I can't think of her channel. I'll come back to that. Michelle and Rachel and their kind of review of it really helped me decide whether or not I would make it. And to me, whether this sounds insulting or not, this is a little girl's dress. This, for someone who is about a 9-year-old, would be so thrilled with having the flounces and the frill and all the little bits of details, the ruffle thing, and I saw it as a little girl's dress that you have to be really careful how you adapt it for yourself, particularly if you're almost 69, which is what I am. And I think so many people have done such a wonderful job on it. I've seen so many photos of it on Instagram. It's really quite inspiring how people have managed to grow it up. You know, I don't mean this lass looks like she's a girl in it, a child in it. I just mean it's a risky kind of pattern, I think. And I think so many people have done so well with it. And seeing the way Rachel talked about it, I've noticed people wearing it and they're doing this all the time, or they're pulling it back, or they're pulling it forward because the neck can be quite tight. I have it here. This is just the back of it. I will show it properly. I used a rayon challis, which is it's an art gallery fabric. I'd bought the fabric with no idea really what to do with it. I was thinking I may have used it for a dress for a wedding. And partway through that process, I was working out, should I make it for the wedding? Should I not make it for the wedding? I know Andrea Beyond the Pink Door has this fabric, and it is really beautiful. It's a beautiful fabric. I mention it in a couple of videos ago, I think, when I'd bought the fabric and I'd treated it as Karina at, I knew how to treat it. Karina at Lifting Pins and Needles had explained how to use a rayon and all its little issues with it. And she gave me the confidence to use it, to buy it and to use it. I was aware that because I'd not seen it in a shop, I didn't know whether it was going to be the right colour for me, and I now know it's okay, but it doesn't give me that lift that I like from a fabric, from a colour. It suits it brings out the colour of my eyes. Ta-da! But it will sound quite strange to some people, but it feels quite sedate on me as a colour. As a base colour. I knew that I would probably have problem with the waist being gathered. My hips go out like a shelf. I'm quite, I like a fitted top. I like it fitted under my bust. I like my midriff isn't too bad. Well, it's my midriff is fine. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with my hips. But if you denote my waist with a bit of directs attention from my waist to my hips too much, it looks like I'm a barrel tied in the middle, and I really don't like it. And one of the things I don't like about this dress is that it does that. I was aware it might do, so I still may alter it, but if I alter it, which would be to bring up kind of the waist gather up to under my bust, I would need another tier on the bottom. Now this fabric cost me, not from Andrea's, I'd got a voucher for it from somewhere else. But this dress in itself, just with the fabric, cost me £62. Now, I don't normally spend that much on a dress, buying a dress, making a dress, but what making this dress has given me in terms of tutorial, there is a full tutorial start to finish from Chelsea at Friday Pattern Company, and all the steps that I have managed to learn doing this dress has been worth that amount of money. So I need to stress that right from the top. I've learned a lot in making this dress, and I've learned a lot in how other people have made this dress. And I've taken some photos, tiny bit of footage here and there, certainly not done a sew along. There's no need. All you need is a device where you can just keep going backwards and forwards, and I watched each step several times, and it was really spot on. Everything was covered, and I can't praise Chelsea at Friday Pattern Company enough for that. And the way it is drafted, you just do it start to finish. Now that I've made it, I know where I would alter it, but I will get it down and show you in a minute. I'm only showing you the back for now. Well, it's only hanging from the back for now. I have two things to do to it. I have to finish one cuff, and I have to put a drawstring through. But there doesn't seem any point in doing the drawstring until I've decided what I'm doing. So I'll go through the make of it, but I just wanted to tell you how I've felt about making it. I've had the trepidation of it being rayon and it being very flimsy and fluid and a little bit what I thought would be uncontrollable. I've not found much difficulty in controlling it. I haven't found, just washing it in the first place. When I first got it, I should have overlocked the edges before I put it in the wash, and I didn't do that, and I did get some fraying, and it caught on something in the washing machine and it cut a piece only about 3 or 4 inches from the side, so it does damage easily in the wash. And that's what Karina at Lifting Bins and Needles, Limitless Sewing, that's what she had said about it. Be careful when you wash it, don't handle it too much when it's wet. And so I was a bit like, oh, what will I do with this? It took me ages to cut the pattern pieces, only because I was being extra careful, just the pieces out of the actual pattern. I was fortunate that I managed to get a paper pattern from Fold Line, and it comes with a really very good detailed instruction book. It comes with a full several options of layouts, and in the layout, from the width of fabric that I had, they recommended that you that you did it singly, and move some of the pattern pieces. So I've got a little bit of a snippet of a video talking about that. Apologies for my bingo wing arms, because I just did it without my face on the picture, but I've got my white arms out, you know, when I was organising the pattern, the fabric on the pattern. I laid it all out with the Davenport pattern on it, didn't pin it to it, but I laid it out, part of it, and I thought, I don't think I want to make that pattern. I took it apart, took all the pattern pieces off, I changed it to the flounce, the dress I use, the Simplicity. Yes, I wore the anniversary dress that I made out of the Simplicity, whatever number it is, I'll pop it in. And also the one that I've put a flounce on the bottom that's kind of got a dark green background and lots of floral. I'll pop pictures in of those, then you'll know what I'm talking about. It's not really relevant because I laid it out. I was wary that I've only used it with stretch. No. I was wary that there wouldn't be enough any give, if I did it in the rayon. If I got it wrong, and I don't have, it's one of those patterns that you get that only goes up to a certain thing. So I've only got it something like 8, 10, 12 to 14. and sometimes I find, particularly if I'm using woven, I'm better with a 16, then I can take a little bit off if it's too big, I can take something off, can't I? If the biggest I can go is to a 14, or it might go over that, but I'd already cut it to a 14. I can't really remember. But anyway, I did lay those pattern pieces out. I measured them for the so I'm doing 2 videos here really, aren't I? I'm talking about rayon challis. I'm talking about those issues I had, and I'm also talking about, and the worry about cutting into this, and I'm also talking about making the Davenport dress. But it's a transition because I did change back to doing the Davenport dress, and I'm really glad I made it. So I have to just be clear about that, and I'm still not clear how I'm going to alter it so that I will get proper wear out of it. So I'll take it down and I'll show you some bits about it. Okay, so this is the back where you've got this lovely yoke and you've got these gathers, and then the gathers go into, I've just put elastic in temporarily because, like I said, I did cut out the oh no, I lengthened it a little bit. I did lengthen it a little bit, and then because I measured it and then used the tape measure and to see what kind of bow and drop I would have. So I did add a little bit onto it, but as I'd cut it out, it had wavered a bit, and it's only about 1.5 inches, if that, or 1.25 inches, and when you're cutting it out, and it had wavered a bit because there was a long length and it's skiddy fabric. So I thought rather than cut out another one for now, I just put elastic in. So there's my elastic and there's my big pin so I don't lose it. So first of all I'm doing the back. So the back has got this lovely yoke, it's got this gather, it's got you gather into at the waist, and then you've got, when she was demonstrating with the skirt, I thought, oh, she's just using like you do when some people make something and they put just a sample so that you know what you sew to what. And I thought that's what the length was in the dress she was doing. She might have been doing a size 8, I don't know, but it wasn't very long, and this bit wasn't very long that she was adding to things. And I thought, oh, she's just kind of doing a little bit that references what you do. But no, it all joined together and became a dress. So I was thinking, oh, well, mine will be a lot longer than that, but it wasn't. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense. But so then you put a frill on the bottom. Now, when I was saying that if I lift this up to under my bust, so the front, I'll come round to that first. So then you have these flutter sleeves, but at the front you have this elastic piece. Now what I'm going to do is put it on, then I can explain it better from a different position. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so this I did it this way because otherwise I've got a flappy arm here and it might be distracting, and I'd have that pin with elastic in. So I know that lots of people would be happy with this, and I need a word about but it's all about the fit, isn't it? So I've put a belt on, and I will take the chair away after and just stand up and you can see what it's like. But this, Rachel, well, I've seen a few people who are talking about it and then they keep pulling the back up to lower the neck down. Now, what I did because of that and because of something Rachel had said, if she'd have known how tight it was, once you put the elastic in quite early on, so it seems like you can't go back and do anything about it, but actually you could. You know, when I've done it myself, I realised you could. But what I did was I didn't use the measurement that she gave for the elastic, that Chelsea gave, or the pattern gives for the elastic, and I used the right width of elastic, which is like the 3/8, but I left it quite baggy, quite loose. In fact, there's very little in the elastic part of it because it's just more or less the length of the elastic. I'm okay with that. That doesn't give me, it doesn't offend me, it doesn't bother me, I can, whatever. If it started to feel like it was too loose, then yes, there are some seams. You can, everything is finished beautifully inside, so you can choose to use a little cover for this bit. I just had some really nice purple, which is one of my cheery colours, piece of binding that I used to edge this row edge from where you turn it in. Then it's all yoked inside. I'm sure other people have shown you, but I will show all this on part of the video. So I knew that this wouldn't be too high and too tight. Shift that for now. Because I'd done that. So then you make this little, there is this little piece, little saddle shoulder thing that seems to be a saddle shoulder, but it's not. It's just a little piece there, and that gives you this lovely shaping that then is okay over the bust. Now, Rachel she said she'd used large at the top and graded to extra large for the hips, and I was going to do that, but I risked doing it just large in both places. See, already I'm aware that isn't pulling, that is, and that's how I would be if it was a tight at the neck. Okay, so yes, so Rachel at the French Seams had said that, I've forgotten, it doesn't matter. So you've got, oh right, the size. So I thought, no, I don't want my hips any larger. I don't want the gather to be any bigger from my waist down to my hips, because that wouldn't be right. It would be more like a big mushroom thing. So I didn't want that, but I measured what the width would be, and it would cover my hips amply, and I would be able to get the dress on over my head, because there's no fixings, no... once you've made every stage, it's finished. So really this part of the sleeve should have been done before I went on to put the frill on, or even to attach it to the waist bit. I think you make the top fully, but I wanted to check whether I needed to order, if I was going to have it for the wedding, I needed to check what length it was going to turn out to be with the frill on, in case I needed to buy more fabric to put a longer frill on. And that's what I started to say at the beginning of this video, really. If I move this waist area up to under my bust, then I'm going to have to get another piece of material. So, see, already I'm not happy in it. Right, okay. So then there are pockets, and Rachel had said the pockets stick out. So I was very careful. She was like, she wasn't sure about the pockets, they stick out. She liked the dress she'd made. I'm not saying that she was complaining about any of it. I'm just saying it was like, to be aware, the pockets do stick out. So I followed the instructions. I was careful about them. I was careful how I pressed them. I was careful that I didn't bulge them out in any way. But they do. The pockets stick out. You may not be able to see that there. So what I'm going to do is this. I shall show you my... Whoops. Okay, so I'm showing you whatever is in the frame. So I have put the belt on because it gives me something up here rather than this. So the pockets do stick out. Can't say they don't stick out, they stick out. And so I thought, okay, well I'll sew them down on top stitch them in, not use them. They're not long enough for me either. They're a nuisance. So they're not, I don't use pockets in a dress. I wouldn't need pockets in a dress. But they come to about there and you end up with your fingers jammed. So that's not my thing. So I'd be quite happy without the pockets. Yeah, so, but now they're in, they're not easy to get out. And the other thing is, it's genius this is a genius idea, which you sew the channel on the outside, the channel for the, sew it on the outside of the skirt piece. I don't know if that will show there, so you leave, there's a gap here where you've sewn it to, where your tie comes out and you knot it or bow it. But I would find that better if it was on this piece. And that's just a me thing. And that's something that I still could do, but I don't know what damage would be made to the rayon if I unpick that. And it still wouldn't solve my main issue. And my main issue is I'm not comfortable with this style of dress. I have no problem whatsoever with what I thought might give me the problem, which are the frills on the shoulders, because that's part of the, this is a child's dress. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's really quite sweet. I think you could, if you're doing it in, well, I've done it in a different fabric for something else, but if you're doing it, I also would alter the shoulders just in slightly for me. So I didn't change the construction to my fit at all. There is one thing that I found with the sleeves, and the sleeves I've added almost 2 inches to this sleeve, and it's still not right for my watch. It gets stuck on my watch. So if I don't wear my watch, I end up with the dreaded bracelet sleeve. There's an issue about, some people have said the pattern shows that it's, I'm wondering if they did the pattern when they'd done the first testing and they didn't adapt it once they'd done it, once they'd altered it after some feedback about the sleeve being too short. So I think this shows the sleeve is very short, and lots of people have added a couple of inches on and then found it's far too short. I just added an inch, like almost 2, I think it's 1 inch and 9 thingies, sections, I don't know. You know, it's not quite 2 inches I added. And my only thing is, it's coming from the back, that it pulls it back. And when I've checked the pattern piece, I thought, oh, have I put it in the wrong way? Because even when it was hanging on my model, it seemed to be hanging that way. So when I've checked, I haven't put it in the wrong way, but the pattern is almost identical. The sleeve head is almost identical for the depth at the front and the back. So there's not got that you've not got that extra bit at the back to cover when you move your arm out. So if I probably will make it again in some form, I'm going to make it as a blouse. I know I'm going to make it as a blouse, but now I've got this far with it, this won't turn into a blouse. Rachel had said she'd added some on her bodice, and I think she's 5'9". I'm nearer 5'7" than 5'6". And I thought, I'm not going to do it. I won't add it, and I wish I had. But why do I wish I had? I wish I had because it's just, I think I wish I had at the back, because I think that's what, there's something fundamentally not quite right about the fit for me, but that is my issue, not the pattern's issue. So if I take you through, on the video, I'll take you through some of the parts of the construction, and in a way it was a dream to actually do it. I enjoyed every bit of it, all the new bits. I've never done anything like it, and like I say, for the cost of the pattern and the fabric, I've had a really good tutorial. I could stop that tutorial over and over again. I've also pinched the idea of this frill for something else, and I've pinched this, I don't know if it was a neck, you call it a pie crust collar thing, I think, but the idea of doing this as a cuff, it's really pretty, and yeah, I'd have to lengthen that quite a bit longer because it's, you can see it, the tension is there for my exceedingly long arm. So even though I did add what I added, 1.5 inches, and no, almost 2, it was like 1/8 probably from the 2, then it's not long enough for me for comfort. And yeah, I like my sleeve head with a bit of gathering, and it's relatively flat. That's fine because that's the pattern. So I've learned a hell of a lot from doing it. I want to share with people that you'll gain something from doing it, and also I think you'll enjoy a lot of the. See, I'm aware that this now is above my midriff, which isn't normally not a problem. So it doesn't sit where I need it to sit. And that's, like I said, Rachel added length to it and I didn't. So they are notes for me to make, but I know I won't make it like this again because it's not me. And however many people might say, oh, it really suits you, Susan, it doesn't feel right. And I have bought a purchased dress, a ready-to-wear dress that has a waist thing, but it's very fine. It's not, anyway, it don't matter, I don't want to talk about it. It's not for me, this pattern, as is, but I think I could tweak it to make it so that it is. So I've learnt a lot from doing it. I've never done any closed yokes at the back, so all those will take me forward into making shirts. This little bit of doing this section, it's really clever, and I'll just take it off again and get redressed, obviously, and just show you the insides before I leave you with it. Okay, thank you for your patience. Well, actually, I'd like to show you the back because the back is really nice too, but I feel that to take some of the gather away from the top of my hips to the back is a better fit for me. I have to just check now in the mirror. That's right. Yes. So if that is taken away from the sides to the back, that's much better. I don't mind if there's a big cascade of gather down where my bum is, but I don't like it at the side. So if I bring it back, I don't like all this here. Yeah, I don't like here, this, and the pockets, if you just, so. But to take that round to the back, that feels better. It's such a personal thing, isn't it? Yeah, and so then that doesn't feel right because there's not enough depth in the back. But then that was up to me to make a larger size or not a larger size, and that was the large size. Okay, here I am again in my very serious review of the Davenport dress. I feel like I've been very critical. So, this is absolutely wonderful, the way you make it. And the finish on the inside. So you have a yoke. You see nothing raw or anything here. You have a yoke at the front, this fancy yoke, where you have your gathers, you have a seam, a channel. So you make a channel for your elastic. And as you can see, that's not really well stretched. So if you've got that, if you do it to the length of the piece of elastic tighter, you will get more gathers, won't you? So that will lay differently. You've got this lovely, the front yoke that joins up all this where you encase all the top. It's really not that difficult to do, but I would never ever have thought of doing it or how to do it. So all that is a joy to know that you've achieved it. So this is the inside top of the bodice of my Davenport dress, the first time I've made this, and I'm now up to the point where I'm going to attach the bodice, the inner bodice, the bodice lining, to the back bodice and then close everything, and that's known as a burrito method. I've never done it before and I'm just wondering how I can film it. Just hang on. Okay, so I am now doing the first burrito method thing that I've done. I don't know if this is going to make sense, but this is the bodice of the Davenport dress. That's the front. There's the little patches on the ceiling, on the shoulders, and now I've messed it about. The back has got a double yoke, or a yoke, and to fix that in place so that that is not seamed, I think this is what we do. But I am following the sew along pattern, the sew along for the Friday Pattern Company Davenport dress, and this is what Chelsea is just going to show me. I've watched it over and over and I'm seeing if I can manage to understand without just keep watching it. So she says, roll up the front of the bodice and roll up the back of the bodice. Yeah, so that is, yeah. So that is the bit of the bodice that I want to attach to at the back of there. So I'm rolling that up to there, and then I take this over there, because it makes you feel like, well, that's not right, you want to go another go, but it's not, and pin that to that. So just do that now. It's been a funny old sew. I wouldn't say it's it's difficult. I mean, I'm following it step by step with Chelsea's sew along. You just have to keep your head on and think, and don't go charging off and think, ah, now I do this, now, oh, that's the perfect time to go and overlock things. Don't do it. That'd be a perfect time to do this, and no, don't do it. Oh, I'll attach my shoulders. No, don't do it. Okay, so that should be all fine for me to go away and sew that now. So I gathered the bodice onto the yoke with a 1/4 inch seam. Well, I was supposed to do, but I did the 3/8, so I've just done it with the 1/4 inch and then unpicked the 3/8 in the first place. So I have to take this over, and I suppose that is the burrito of it. So I shall come back once I've sewn the seam. Okay, I've sewn the seam with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and now excuse me, now I shall see if this has worked. It does seem weird to think that it would work, but I feel like, oh no, it's not worked, but it has worked. Has it worked? It has worked. So the front inside is nicely, all the edges are nicely caught, and the yoke protects that raw seam. So that's quite a nifty thing, isn't it? It looks lovely. I have no doubt whatsoever. I don't like it. It doesn't suit me. The fabric is too dark. It cost me £62, and I was frightened of putting my scissors near it. But it's a very lovely fabric, but it isn't me. And this neck is still high, and you're supposed to use 6 inches for my size. 6 inches. Or 6.5. Anyway, I've used 8 or even 8.5, which makes it baggy, but where it comes to is would be far too tight on any. If I have a problem with it, I'll put some shearing elastic in the back, but we shall see. But it's an experience just making this dress. So I have the back yoke done. I have the front yoke. Front bodice, so that's the back bodice, the front bodice. My head has to go through there, which is why I left it larger. And I've got my flutters on. Now I've got to attach, whoops, the sleeve head. Got to really get your head around this. So I've checked that this is the back, although it is completely symmetrical as far as I can see. Just the notches are just slightly different on each side, but so I'm matching the back of the sleeve, right sides together. That goes to the back of the bodice. Matches at that notch. Now, so move the camera now. So I'm matching it at this notch here. Back of the bodice matching to the armhole. I've got silk pins because it is quite a fine fabric, this. I need to do it this way. So I'm putting it on the top of the inside of the flutter. That goes to there. Just matching the notches on the flutter. because it is so fluid, it's difficult just to keep track of it. It's not dreadful, but it's just, it doesn't just sit where you put it, it shrinks back from itself or slips a bit. Just needs a bit more careful handling, mastering, telling it who's boss. Chelsea on the sew along uses clips. I can't stand the way they bang on my table as I'm moving it all about, so I've abandoned that. So I'd probably do this when I had it on my knee normally, but I just have to have it over a surface. Just so that the fabric is supported and it wiggles about less. The way they're showing it is to then tighten up the gathered bit. It's just light gathers at the surface, at the head of the shoulder. Can't do that, my back's aching. Too big a stretch. Okay, that's the first one in, well, tacked in. I'll just sew that now. It's such a subtle gather. I usually make a huge prominent gather. Okay, we've got one sleeve sewn onto the shoulder to the arm side. That is great, so just got to prepare this one. I'm just dipping in and out of videoing because I need to make it. Everything is made on the skirt before you attach it. Everything is made on the top. Like I say, I should have done the sleeve before you attach it. Yeah, do you put your frill on once it's attached? I can't remember. So the pockets look enormous, but I have enormous hands and that doesn't feel like where they go. I don't get my hand in there. I don't know where, because my hand won't come until this part, will it? Yeah. So it looks enormous. The pattern, the pocket pattern looks enormous, but it's put in on the slant, the skirt behind that. The pocket is slanted there. So when you get your hand in it, you're already at this point when you put your hand in. Well, even that looks bigger than it is, but anyway. So it's fine. Lots of people love pockets. It's not my thing, and I've got big hands. I've got giant hands. All the time when she says to finish it, she gives you all the instructions of finish that now, either with a zigzag or your overlocker. So there's nothing showing at all, nothing raw, and that's lovely. It's because it's done. When it's done, it's done. And then the frill, I was finding that I don't like to do the gather on the machine and then pull it tight. I like to, it's fine if I'm just doing like a ruffle on the top or the top of the sleeve head, but if I'm doing a frill, then I like to do 2 rows of hand tacking and then basting and then pull those in. I've got more control, it's easier on my hands, I have issues with my fingers, and also it's not as tense on the fabric when you do it by hand. You get the same result, it's fine. What I found was, because of the fabric, it slipped a bit. You thought you'd got all your gathers where you wanted them, and I can't remember, did I tack it as it was as well? I think I also tacked it before I machined it, so that I had the gathers where I wanted, because they kept slipping. You thought you'd got it nice and even, but then when you went along again, it got flat bits. And even though I'd done it into, and Chelsea said to do it in 4 pieces. So there are, 4 pieces of the pattern, and she said to do it like that so that you make sure you've got even in the 4 sections, even gathers in the 4 sections. Well, all I did was what I would normally do and divide it in 4, put a pin in one side and only gather up that bit until I'd got it how I wanted to fit this skirt bottom, and the same again. So I didn't need to use 4 pieces. I didn't want a seam down the front and a seam down the back when I could perfectly well get it out just in 2 pieces. So that's what I did. And then again, there's lots of turn it over by 1/4 of an inch and then turn it over again. And it's lovely the way you get that nice neat hem from doing that. You do that at the bottom of the sleeves, you do it at the bottom, you do it quite a few times. Or 1/8 of an inch or whatever it is. But it's very, very clear. And that I had an issue with my overlocker, and I could not get the tension right when I first started using it. I tried it on some fabric and I couldn't do it, I couldn't get it any better. So I thought I was going to have to resort to doing that on all the overlocking. And then I just did it on these frills. I've just done it each side. And it held fine. I mean, I was sewing it on the inside anyway, on the seam allowance with my sewing machine. But it held. It was fine, it didn't buckle up or anything like it had been doing. And I thought, and I did one last change of all the threads. I'd also put a finer needle in my overlocker. I used a fine needle on my machine, fine needle. This is nothing to do with the Davenport dress, but everything to do with the fabric. And so I changed my thread again, and then I thought, I'll just start all over again, you know, you do, and you rethread it and you think you've done exactly the same as you did, and you check your tension, and I just did it and it all went fine. And so I did it on the test piece, and then I did it on the fabric, and then it's been fine, so no problem. So like I said, the sleeves are more or less, well, I've got the pattern piece out and put it on top of itself, and they are just even front and back. And there doesn't seem, so if it's not the sleeve, then there's not enough from the back so that you've got that without the sleeve coming up. So I don't know what it is, but it's something on me that's not quite right, and it might be perfect on anyone else. So I know I sound like I've moaned a lot about it, but I absolutely love the experience of being able to do it, managing it, following it, achieving it. And although I've tried to have a more open mind, I tried it on in front of my daughter-in-law. She said it's lovely, but she agrees with what I'm on about, and that's helpful. I shall leave my jibber-jabbering and put you some of the footage in, and I like it now. I'll see you again soon. So thank you for watching. I'm so pleased. I'm just so pleased that people are watching my videos. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the time it takes. I know it's not simple just to find time out of your day. And some people are much more entertaining or much more, I don't know, inspiring than others. So I just appreciate that you're there for me to share things with, and just sharing my journey. Thank you. Bye for now.